So, ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Everything we say now is harmful. There's literally nothing we can say that woke ideologues cannot use against us. And the presumption of innocence has turned into a presumption of guilt. No matter what we do, we are guilty by default. And woke ideologues are really happy about this. Now, before we say more about this, why not visit our website, lotuseaters.com, and subscribe for only £5 a month in order to have access to our wonderful content, such as the video on Celtic mythology, religion, and philosophy, which is the latest installment of Josh's Contemplations series. Now, back to our topic. I think woke people really like inducing chaos in the way we speak. And I think the goal is to create a state where we literally cannot trust our thinking, because when we think in terms of language, we think in terms of sentences that we use. And they are really interested in messing up how we think. And that's not just authoritarian, that is totalitarian. They are going after mind control. Let us look at the next
I think as well, just to add to that, it's also a sign of allegiance. If you can keep up with the nonsense terms and apply them correctly, it's a sign of allegiance. It's clown world as uniform, as Oran McIntyre has said in the past.
So let us look at this video.
Hey y'all. So recently walking to and fro from my job, I am now starting to get identified as femme presenting to the point where people call me ma'am, or people call me like miss, or things like that. And it's still wrong because I'm non-binary, but there's like a real fun, like chaotic part of that where I can respond in a way that makes them go, what? Because I'll intentionally like lower my voice and they'll be like, excuse me, ma'am, can you help me out with this? I'm like, yeah, what's up? And I think my gender is the emotions of straight people being utterly confused. Like, I just want to instill chaos. And like, that's my pronouns. That's my gender. That's my identity. That's my sexuality. It gives me all the euphoria to cause fuckery. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
You are bang on the money, mate, because he just said it outright. I mean, he is feminine, I just want to say, in the same way that Jo Brand is feminine, if you've ever seen her. But yeah, you just right on the money.
So I want to say, have you watched Anger Management with Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler?
No, I haven't.
Okay, there's an excellent scene with Woody Harrelson, who is playing Galaxia, the cross-dresser, who enters a car and he is flirting with Adam Sandler, and he isn't having it. And he speaks in a very feminine voice. And at some point, Adam Sandler says, "No, I don't want." And he says, "You guys are freaks."
I do like Woody Harrelson as well, because he's a very manly-looking man.
Now, apart from this person seems to me like a dude. He said, "My gender is the emotions of straight people being utterly confused."
And that's,
now, okay.
If that doesn't just scream that it's spite, then what doesn't?
What does this sentence mean? Now, okay, it's not a secret. English is my second language. It's not my native language. But I think that this sentence does not make sense. Please enlighten me. The sentence, "My gender is the emotions of straight people being utterly confused."
I think it makes perfect sense if you view it from the perspective of these people are spite-filled demons, and everything they do is just to irritate and annoy other people.
Okay, but if this person utters this sentence, what does it mean to say I'm non-binary?
Well, it doesn't mean anything. It means look at me. I'm different.
Okay, so that was intentional. Some other kids, though, are not necessarily buying into this, but maybe they're confused. And critical race theorist teachers are teaching them that the term American citizen is a racialized term. Let us watch the next video.
I just got out of a lecture and my professor said something that really struck me that I feel like should have been super obvious that I just had not connected the dots on before. And that is the fact that the term American citizen is like a racialized term. It's associated with whiteness, whether we want it to or not, because of the way that white supremacy is so intricately bound with the foundation of the country that we call America, that when you hear the word American citizen, the first thing that comes to mind is a white person. And what's crazy is I have this super vivid memory when I was only like maybe like 5 or 6 years old. My mom was just about to get her citizenship and she was like, yo, I'm going to be an American citizen. And I was like freaking out because I fully thought that my mother was going to turn into a white woman. And obviously she didn't, but it's just crazy to me how at such a young age I already was conditioned to think that American citizen meant white by default.
It's really nice that she felt the need to add this. Obviously
she didn't, just in case. And then she did. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just some poor retarded woman.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, that she heard this in a university. So this lady is in a university. She entered into a university. I don't know how. Just
listen. Standards have been falling for a long time.
Yeah. The thing is, though, that CRT is taking over universities, critical race theories. And the Goldwater Institute published a report. Now, if we click the link, and I'll read from it. Now, okay. So, Arizona universities demand applicants' allegiance to progressive politics. Arizona's public universities may be stacking the deck against conservative students and staff, as documented in a just-released Goldwater Institute report, The New Loyalty Oaths, How Arizona's Public Universities Compel Job Applicants to Endorse Progressive Politics. Indeed, joining a herd of colleges across the nation, Arizona's 3 public universities have all begun forcing faculty, job applicants, to provide mandatory diversity statements as a condition for hiring. The statements, which ostensibly function to promote innocuous-sounding concepts, such as diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, are increasingly used across academia as a political screening to enforce intellectual and political conformity in support of left-wing concepts aligned with critical race theory. Key findings include up to 80% of faculty job openings at Arizona's public universities now similarly push applicants to pledge support for DEI. As of fall 2022, diversity statements are mandated in over a quarter of job postings at the University of Arizona, 28%. Nearly 3/4, 73% of job postings at Northern Arizona University, and in more than 4 of 5, 81%, job postings at Arizona State University. Diversity statement practices in Arizona's public universities include replacing the traditional cover letter with a DEI statement, forcing candidates to provide up to 2 full pages detailing their activism or commitment to the DEI regime, and calling on applicants to endorse CRT-based concepts such as intersectional personal identities. At the University of California system, such diversity statements have been used to eliminate more than 75% of applicants from consideration due to their failure to endorse progressive racialized notion of DEI, regardless of the candidate's academic caliber. So they are forcing, in a sense, they're making it mandatory for people to write DEI statements. And unfortunately, this is not just in universities. I hear a lot from people who are now searching for jobs, and they constantly see as a job in the job description or the requirements for the job, provide a statement where you say how you are supporting DEI and how you are supporting inclusivity.
I'm going to be honest, sadly, as evil as this is, obviously outright evil because they're forcing they're gatekeeping in a manner to force people to either submit or go away, submit or you don't get in. This is kind of genius level gatekeeping, and I think that I think that conservative and right-wing institutions should probably mandate something similar for anybody trying to enter into the ranks. In the old Robert Conquest, you need to have an institution be explicitly right-wing if you don't want it to get turned left-wing eventually. If I were to start something like this, I would make it so you need to write a page on traditionalism for me on the instead of a cover letter. Write me your explanation of I don't know, read some James Burnham and tell me what you thought of him, something like that.
Okay, I continue. As explored in the new Goldwater report, up to 80% of faculty job openings at Arizona's public universities now similarly push applicants to pledge support for DEI. At Northern Arizona University, candidates are even explicitly encouraged to infuse CRT-based terminology such as intersectional personal identities in their required responses. As the Association of the American Law Schools has noted, CRT scholar Professor Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality and developed the framework for critical race theory. Unfortunately, such ideological screens are being deployed across the entire institutions, with Arizona's DEI administrators successfully amending university-wide policies to call for the infusion of diversity statements in all faculty and administrative hires. Such policies now demand diversity statements even from scholars pursuing such incredibly technical, specialized research areas as ultra-bright, nanostructured photoemission electron studies. I mean, if there is one discipline where DEI is pertinent, that's it.
Yeah.
Such diversity statements have been widely condemned by both left and right-leaning academic and legal scholars for promoting an ideological agenda, compelling speech, chilling dissent, and exacerbating the already extreme partisan imbalance of higher education, where already at least 5 times more left-leaning faculty have been hired than conservative scholars. At the University of Arizona, faculty registered as Democrats now outnumber Republicans by more than 7-1. At Arizona State University, Democrats outnumber Republican faculty more than 12-1.
And that's all the point as well. And I love the excuse. Have you ever spoken to somebody who's left-wing about this and they say, well, that's just because left-wing people are smarter, obviously. I hate it.
I must say, I have talked to many of them, but I haven't heard anyone telling me this. Instead, they
I've
are
seen it a few
constantly...
times.
But it seems to me that they don't want to say this, that it's because they're smart. They want to say that we're not doing this on grounds of merit. We're doing this on grounds of the group.
I suppose perhaps I had those conversations a while ago, so they were founded in the idea that merit is good, whereas now merit is white supremacy.
This sounds a lot like a champagne socialist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've worked in a university. You're constantly surrounded by champagne socialists.
Yeah, but the thing is that most of them, they were not talking about smart people. They were talking about helping groups.
Okay, so they were just being very open in what they were doing. They were just like, we're not doing this because these people have earned it. We're doing it because we think they're marginalized.
I think so. So, as Goldwater Institute Senior Fellow Jonathan Butcher writes in the report's preface, DEI programs and statements do not produce free expression, nor more diversity of thought, equal opportunities, and a culture that includes everyone in school activities, because DEI's guiding principles are rooted in the racially discriminatory worldview known as critical race theory. Apart from the push to adopt terms that are involved in critical race theory, such as intersectional personal identities, the woke project of creating Newspeak takes a further form. Do you know Stanford University's Elimination of Harmful Language initiative?
No, I don't.
Let's click.
We'll have some fun here.
Okay, page 1. The Elimination of Harmful Language initiative is a multi-phase, multi-year project to address harmful language in IT at Stanford.
In IT? Okay.
Yeah, but I have the impression that they want to use it.
Isn't there something like master and slave programming language? They're probably going to get rid
You'll
of that.
see. Just wait. Okay, and just to remember that this is supposed to be a multi-phase and multi-year project.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So if we read down, it says, content warning. This website contains language that is offensive or harmful. Please engage with this website at your own pace.
Okay, for viewers, if you need to take a little break, if you start hyperventilating as we go through this, we don't blame you.
Or you could say enjoy responsibly. Okay, now, page 2 of 13. Now, it says, instead of addicted, consider using hooked or devoted.
I'm just devoted to heroin, man.
Yeah, I'm a crack
porn
devotee.
Yeah.
And I think that they are going to ask for changing Robert Palmer's song "Addicted to Love" to "Devoted to Love."
Devoted to love, yeah.
Now, and the reason they give is that it trivializes the experience of people who deal with substance abuse issues. How?
What addicted is just it's
a
purely descriptive term.
I mean, you could use hooked and devoted in the same way. And also, the weird thing is that devoted can also have religious connotations.
Yeah.
So they don't care about this.
Well, this is just the permanent revolution. We need to get to the most neutral language, and then after 5 years of having the most neutral language, it's suddenly got all of these loaded connotations to it. So we're going to need even more neutral language. We're going to be reduced to grey blobs.
Now, underneath it says, instead of basket case, consider using nervous.
No. Saying basket case is fun. They just want to take the fun out of language.
But the thing is, and this is weird, and this is a kind of newspeak that tries to mess up with how we think. There are many people who are nervous without...
Yeah, actually, you're right as well. They're
as...
not even necessarily synonyms for one another, are they? Basket case, I think of someone mental, not nervous.
Also, instead of using committed suicide, consider using died by suicide.
This is actually the opposite of what suicide prevention suggests, because if you say died by suicide, it's taking the personal action out of the equation, making it seem like an impersonal thing. You need to remind people that it was a choice that was made, because otherwise you can accidentally, at least this is what the suicide prevention guidelines suggest, otherwise you can make it seem so impersonal that people end up committing it more. This is one of the big things that 13 Reasons Why got in trouble for.
This is crazy. Now, if we scroll down a bit on the same page, I just used the word crazy. Pardon me. It says, instead of crazy, consider using surprising.
Or wild. No. I'll use whatever word I want, thank you.
I mean, if we switch crazy to surprising, we will be led to confuse surprising with crazy. A surprise is something that is unexpected.
Crazy is if I know someone's crazy, I expect them to be crazy, so it's not going to surprise me.
Okay, so instead of OCD, consider using detail-oriented.
I feel like that's a particularly personal one for whoever wrote this document, because they've probably got some OCD.
Now, the thing is, though, that if they're doing this, I mean, I know plenty of people who are detail-oriented, but they're not obsessively compulsive.
No.
So isn't this fusing?
Yeah, they're fusing a lot of terms and connotations together.
Yeah. Now, I think one of the weirdest things on the beginning of page 3. I must say I don't like this word. I don't use it because I think it's a bit bullish. But I will say it here because I want to show you what these people think we should say. Instead of using the word retard, they say consider using person with a cognitive disability or person with autism. Now, I know plenty of people who have autism.
You work in an office full of them.
But they are not in any way
retarded.
Yeah.
No, they're very smart people. Obviously, they can have social impediments as a result if they become too analytic and unable to understand social encounters, but they're not dumb.
Now we go page 3 underneath. I want to share another one and see what you're saying. It says, instead of tone deaf, consider using unenlightened. Really, as if unenlightened is not associated with stupid or with lack of light, which is also a trivializing of blind people, according to that logic.
I'm just going to see how it rolls off the tongue. Okay.
Are we a bit liberal with drug consumption, are we?
I'm just going to see how it rolls off the tongue. I just want to test this. Instead of you tone-deaf retard, you say, you unenlightened person with autism.
Yep.
Soon it'll be person of autism. Just watch it.
Okay, so page 4 of 13, and instead of guru, consider using expert.
Let me guess.
Why? Because in the Buddhist and Hindu tradition, the word is a sign of respect. Using it casually negates its original value. Why shouldn't expert be a matter of a sign of respect? And why should experts or... But that's interesting because it says, using it casually negates its original value. But on the other hand, it's expert, primary leader, teacher, or guide is not supposed to have original value.
Don't expect it to make sense.
And page 7 of 13, instead of thug, consider using suspect or criminal. So thug life compilations have to be renamed into suspicious life.
Yeah, sus life.
Sus life compilations, yeah. So what do you make of all this?
Well, I think it's completely tone deaf and retarded. personally.
The thing, though, is that, okay, this is meant to be for an IT department. But it seems to me that it starts with IT departments and it ends with pronouns and communism. Okay?
That's how it always goes. That's where we always end up.
Yes. But the thing is that, okay, I think that this is a really bad way of thinking about things. It's not a way of thinking. Actually, that's the problem. It's not a way of thinking about things. It's a way of distorting language to such an extent that it is specifically designed to create obsequious people who are parts of departments who have a constant doublethink. And they cannot think anymore what they are saying, and they cannot think, basically they cannot think anymore. And this breeds the habit of, let's say, obsequiousness. Because if you are in a department that tries to change language and mandate language in such a ridiculous extent, you will need a permission to speak. And
in all likelihood, you'll have to get permission to speak from your students, because the students are going to be the ones who are younger, they're more up to date with all of this sort of stuff. You always get told, oh, you need to listen to the youth, you need to learn from younger people, so it will end up being the teachers being told what to think by the students. Exactly.
And because student satisfaction indexes are a thing, and many people think that they have to placate the audience, this leads into education being seen as a customer is always right kind of thing. Okay, this is obvious. It's more complex than that, but this is a problem especially in disciplines like the humanities, where you have to talk about an objective reality that is negotiated, and we are talking about it, instead of just disintegrating into a subjectivism of, subjective feelings of harm.
I mean, there was the incredibly famous woman now from the Evergreen situation who was screaming at, I think it was Brett Weinstein or one of those people around there, who just screamed, it's not about creating an educational space, it's about creating a home. No, it's not. It's about the educational space.
And unfortunately, some people are really happy about it. And like you mentioned, Pete Tatchell, I also have to show someone.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yeah, Billboard Chris, who walks the earth, encountered this person. Let us see.
Yes. So, say your question again. It was 12. Do I think 12-year-olds having sex is a good idea? That's not what I said. Do you think a 12-year-old can consent to sex with an adult?
Yes. So, how about we first talk about a 17-year-old and then maybe work our way down? So, again, my whole
I don't
thing
need
is
to do that. I mean, you said you think a 12-year-old can consent to sex with an adult.
Again, my whole thing is why are we coupling age with consent?
Do you know what a child is?
No, I don't. Tell me.
Come on.
Please, enlighten me. Is it by age that we define children?
Yes.
I don't even want to have this conversation.
Okay, so...
My man.
Yes?
Do you remember what it is to be 10, 11, 12? Did you even know what sex was?
Again, different people mature at different rates.
I don't even know why I'm humoring you. No 12-year-old can possibly consent to sex with an adult. That's called pedophilia.
I think there are exceptions.
Okay, well...
I think exceptional 12-year-olds understand what consent is.
I think that's pure evil.
I think consent is, how do you define consent?
And I think you're probably not safe in society. That's what I think.
Why does he have to be wearing the anime jumper? I actually quite like Death Note as well. So, honestly, this man is just trying to rationalize his own immoral degeneracy. That's all I hear when I hear people talking like that.
But the thing, though, is that this kind of rhetoric would not be heard some years ago. So what has happened? This is a big question. What has happened? And we have people who think that it is okay to say this.
Well, that's the Overton window has just been shifted so far in one direction that all of a sudden people are able to come out and advocate for positions like this without just a mob of people going around them. Because I think we all know where the civil rights movement is going next. It is going to be consent-based questions about child sexuality. That's what it's going to be. They're going to frame it from that perspective of consent, because it doesn't matter if it's immoral, it doesn't matter if the child is in any position of wisdom or maturity. They're going to make the argument, well, some kids, you know.
So this guy literally asked, why are we coupling age with consent? And he was playing smart, and he was saying, is it by age that we determine children? Yes.
And you can tell by his facial expressions, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So I think that this is a way in which the woke ideology is trying to mess up with language. It tries to mess up with our thoughts, and it tries to normalize people who say crazy things like that. Not surprising.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Contemplations series, this episode on Celtic mythology. If you'd like to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.